Okay, let's start. Good morning or good evening to all, and welcome to the Data-Driven Community virtual meeting. My name is Ronen Arieli, and I'm honored to be the moderator today. A few words about the Data-Driven Community. We are managing two branches of activities: a weekly meeting of the Cloud Data-Driven User Group, like today, and an annual conference called Future Data-Driven Summit. Next week, on October 12th, we will host Randolph West for a deep dive into the database administration. The Future Data-Driven Summit 2023 has come to a close about a week ago, but the fun isn't over yet. At the after party, we gave away tens of swags, and more is coming. So if you participated in the conference, then your feedback is important for us in order to improve the next conference. Final raffle will be held for some amazing prizes. You can see them in the slide as well. Submitting feedback, final date will be on Monday. So you still have time, like 4 days. Please fill the feedback. I will give you the link to the feedback form in the chat while the speaker will start his session. Remember that for each session that you submit the feedback, you will get another ticket for the draw. So the more sessions you attend to and provide feedback, the more chance you will have to win those prizes. Okay, speaking about SQL Server, with multiple layers we can dive into. Most people focus on the upper layer, on how to use the server using the documented tools. What is less known is that this is only a virtual layer for the users. Behind the scenes, we can dive into the internals of SQL Server, how it is actually working. Understanding the internals in the undocumented layers of the server opens the door to real experts to use the full power of SQL Server. So next week, I will present the most bottom layer in SQL Server in a session which is talking about the zeros and the one value stored on the disk for each data type that we are using. This is the last topic of SQL Server internals course. It's a level 500 lecture for experts. If you want to raise your ability to the next level, then you should start with understanding the bottom layer. You can join me on Wednesday, October 11. I will put the link in the chat as well. And again, it's not for beginners. If you are Microsoft MVPs, if you are expert, if you want to raise to the next level, this session is for you. Okay, back to our meeting today. Please use the chat during the session for questions and discussions. This is not a conference. This is a user group meeting. It means that we are more flexible. Use the chat for discussions. Feel it free. You are also welcome to use the reaction to show that you like something. You can clap hand, you can mark like, or use the love or something like this, according to what Javier will give us. Feel free to use the reaction during all the session. It does not interfere the speaker. It's nice. It's small icon that go fast on the screen. So today we are hosting Javier Villegas. Javier, by the way, was also in the Future Data-Driven Summit. So Javier, you are welcome to share your screen and take control. and maybe add some words about yourself as well.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie, for the invitation to share with this great community. Let me share my screen.
Okay, we can see also.
Yeah, I don't have my normal setup today, but I think you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see all screen. Everything looks
Okay,
okay.
okay, very good. Thank you, Ronnie, again. Um, My name is Javier Villegas, as I said, and today we will be talking about Microsoft Fabric, right? Let's see a little bit what it is, what we can do, what are some of the ideas behind this new data platform solution that Microsoft announced recently, right? So it is an interesting subtitle, right? The unified analytics solution for the era of AI. So when Fabric was presented back in the days in um, um, during the Build conference, right? It was announced as one of the main topic, and again, data analytics for the era of AI. And I was getting a lot of questions about this, right? What is data analytics in the era of AI? So the idea today will be seeing a little bit what can we do with Fabric, maybe some insight on what is the intention of the era of AI, right? And some of the toolings available in Fabric. A little bit about myself. Javier Villegas from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I work at Mediterranean Shipping Company for the last 17 years. I've been working with SQL Server for almost 30 years now. And now a lot of involvement with Azure SQL mainly. And I am Microsoft MVP in the data platform category since 2016, as well as a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm one of the former Azure Data Community Advisory Council member, and technical speaker. I try to participate in as many conferences, user groups, sessions that I can. And if someone is talking about data, I will try to be there. Right. Uh, I'm also one of the local organizers of our own community, SQL Argentina, right? We have our community here. It is mainly in Spanish, right? But if feel free to join us if you would like to hear about some data platform activities in Spanish, right? On the left side of the screen, you have my contact information. If you just want to network with me, just reach me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, drop me an email, or check my blog. If you have any question related to to this presentation, feel free to reach me. Mhm. So, Fabric, as I said, presented a few months ago as public preview in during the Build conference. What public preview means? Well, basically, Microsoft opens the possibility to everybody to start using this solution. And the caveat is that it's still not ready to be GA, general availability, right? So it's interesting because everybody get to know the platform in advance. It's good for Microsoft because if people find bugs, problem, or even any kind of feedback to add things, modify things, etc. This is the right time to do it, right? So it's a great exercise for both the consumers of this solution as well as for Microsoft, right? There is a lot of learning behind the scenes in all the senses, right? At this time, since it's public preview, this is not ready, let's say, for being production, meaning that Microsoft won't offer any SLA on this. But again, you are able to use it for free, right? We will see later how we can, let's say, start using this as a testing purpose for free. And again, just to start getting involved with Fabric, right? So this is the main link, aka .ms try-fabric. From this point onward, we can get access to the 60-day trial offering that Microsoft is doing on the public preview, right? As well as all the documentation that Microsoft is releasing. There is, a ton of learning available, a learning path, a webcast series. There are several blogs with, announcements, roadmaps, updates, and a bunch of things, right? So they are focusing a lot and they're targeting the shift to this Microsoft Fabric, which is, as it put it in here, the end-to-end unified analytics platform, bringing together all data and analytics tools that your organization needs. Wow, sounds super cool, right? So let's go a little bit inside and see what it is, right? So when we talk about Fabric, in some sense, we are not talking about, new things. In some areas, there are new things, but I would like to, let's say, introduce Fabric like doing a comparison, right? Nowadays, we have a great productivity tool that a big chunk of the planet is using, which is Microsoft Office, right? Microsoft Office for productivity contain Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Outlook, etc. So whatever is productivity, we use Microsoft Office, right? Even though, let's say, in the past, you were able to get any of these components separately, right? Let's say the bundle Microsoft Office is the most common way to go, right? In the data platform area, Fabric is the same sense that Outlook, Office is, but for data analytics. What is that? Before Fabric, or let's see, still nowadays, right? There are several components, right, that are targeted to different data platform activities, right, which are available within Azure. For example, to do ingestion is Azure Data Factory, right? To do data warehousing, we have Synapse Analytics. And then we have Power BI for everything that is related to dashboard and report, right? So those three components, again, still available for many years. Everybody knows about Power BI, the market leader for years, etc. Synapse, quite robust solution for data warehousing, data engineering, data science, right? And that Azure Data Factory for ingestion. Using all this till now is it has some tricks, right? Because you have to integrate them, and in terms of security, in terms of networking, etc. So now with Microsoft Fabric, all these components, right, came together as a bundle, right? When you get Fabric, you will have all these components in a single SaaS solution, software as a service. That means you don't have to deploy any software, any virtual machine in order to have your analytics solution in Fabric, right? Everything is available within, the offering in a software as a service. So if you need to use Data Factory or Synapse in any sense, or Power BI, you will find it there in Fabric. But there is more, right? Nowadays, Fabric is also targeting other, let's say, roles. For example, if your data platform solution requires real-time analytics, and meaning that you need to analyze several messages or data coming from IoT sensors through service bus, right? You have the possibility of receiving all this real-time data within Fabric, right? And treat it as your project needs, right? If you have to do a regular data warehousing, right? Again, you have the Synapse component that will allow you to do that with Fabric. We will see it in action in a minute, right? If your, let's say, profile is more on the sense of data engineering or data science, again, Synapse with Lighthouse, we can, also use the Spark Notebook as we've been using it in Synapse, and with, some additional things that we will see at the top of it. Additionally, and as we said, everything related to business intelligence with Power BI is still there, right? Now Power BI is part of the Fabric solution. So you have the end-to-end analytics solution in here. For ingestion, Data Factory. For storing and processing and analyzing, you have Synapse, right? In any sense. And for providing reports and end results, you have Power BI, right? What is interesting here is that Microsoft Fabric rely in something that is called One Lake. What is One Lake? First of all, going back to my original comparison between Microsoft Office and Microsoft Fabric, right? Productivity and data analytics. In Microsoft Office, we have one drive, right? Which is, again, the storage in the cloud in where we store all the documents, right? And from any of the Office applications, we are able to consume those files, create new files, edit existing files, etc., etc. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any kind of document, right? So through Office, we have OneDrive as the common layer for storage. In Fabric, that common layer is named One Lake, right? So we will be able to store in One Lake all the data that we need, right? And then from any of the components that we have access to this data. Additionally, and for the very first time, right, and this is something different than the existing data factory, Synapse and Power BI, Microsoft is using an open standard format Delta Parquet for One Lake, right? So everything that we store on this One Lake solution, again, will be available for all the components within Fabric and is stored in open format. That will also give us some additional benefit, is that having this layer of storage, we don't have to do data duplication, right? So let's say if we have part of our project is related to data warehouse and some other part of the project is doing data science, right? We don't need to duplicate the data. Both projects, let's say teams working on those areas will access the same information storage in One Lake. So no data movement, no data duplication in this end. This is key for multiple things of, having a single source of truth in terms of data is key for any project. Additionally to One Lake, there is this concept of shortcut. Shortcut is allowing us to generate a relationship between external storage and One Lake in order to, again, consume this data from the Fabric component. Let's say you have your data stored in another cloud like Google or AWS, right? You can create from Fabric a shortcut so you don't have to transfer the data directly, so you refer to that data and you have it available in one lake. We will see it, as I said, in action today. At the bottom layer, we also have PureView. PureView will help us to do everything related to security and governance, right? Especially on any data-related project, governance and security is key to, have our lineage and the, data catalog that we may need to explore the data and understand the inside of the data that we are dealing with, right? So in few words, this is what Fabric is, right? So if we go one step deeper, right, we see again all these components regarding to Synapse, regarding to Data Factory, Power BI. We have the serverless compute, right, in where we can use SQL, Spark, Custo, or analysis services. Hopefully in the future, many more. We have this concept of one security, which will be ruling the security for the whole Fabric solution. And then we have, our data stored on one lake. There is an additional component in Fabric, which is called Data Activator, right? Which will help us to automate actions based on patterns coming from the insight that we got in our data. This is also something that I believe is still not fully ready in public preview, or is switching from private preview to public preview as we're talking, right? But this is an additional component of the Fabric solution, right? So we can see here the whole bundle, right? And again, we will be able to, connect to Fabric, deploy our solution, use one lake, right? Store our data over there and start our data analytics project. So the interesting thing here is that within Fabric, in this environment, we may have different analytics related scenarios, right? As I said at the beginning, if we need to do data warehouse, again, we have an existing data warehouse with the dimension, with fact tables, we can spin up a data warehouse in Synapse, right? Get the data, right, from the different sources, and then, do our regular warehouse. We can use SQL, right, as we are used to. But if instead we need to come up with a lakehouse, the difference between lakehouse and data warehouse is, that mostly lakehouse you can store data which is relational, non-relational, right? So you can store JSON files, any kind of files, and you can store tables, right? You can use in a lakehouse multiple languages, including SQL, but also Spark. And with that, you have the approach for data science, right? Once you have the data within Fabric in the lakehouse, you can use Spark to get your data science insight. And as I said, you can do real-time analytics from the events that may come through Service Bus within Fabric. So this is a regular, let's say, architecture for a lakehouse solution, right? We have the data source. It could be, a structure or unstructured, right? We can have shortcut, again, data stored on a different cloud provider. We do the ingestion process, and we will see, and then we will discuss a little bit more on this point, that for the ingestion, there are two different components that we can use. One is pipelines, and the other one is data flow generation 2, right? The destination for the ingestion is going to be the lakehouse, and then over there we can use our notebooks, again, with SQL, with R, with Python, to do whatever we need to accomplish with our project, and then get the insight of this data through Power BI. Right? For the data warehouse, again, it's more targeted to structured data, and we can use mainly T-SQL as a store procedure to develop our data warehouse. For data science, again, once we have the data stored in either the warehouse or the lakehouse, we can we can use the notebook, right, with, as I said, Spark mainly to clean and prepare the data to then train our models, right, do experiment, and again, use Power BI as the end result. Real-time analytics are quite interesting scenarios. So the data sources will be not only data, but also will be events that could come from any source, right? Mainly, I would say, IoT devices. Firing these events, the ingestion will come in real time into the lakehouse or the data warehouse, and with Custo language, we can treat them in real time. Right? So super interesting scenario. So we can see it in action, I would say now, right? aka.ms try-fabric. Again, the starting point to get your fabric inside, right? Get access, get documentation, etc. There is an interesting webinar series, right? aka.ms/fabric-webinar-series. Again, this is a starting point for you to start with. There are a lot of webinars on, how to start, how to spin up your fabric solution, and then how to do any of the things that we've been discussing, right? Warehouse, lakehouse, real-time analytics, etc., etc. So I will leave this slide till the end, and I will switch to my fabric solution here. Any questions so far?
So, 1 second before you move forward, I want to remind everyone to use the chat for questions. Feel free. I will pass the question to the speaker, and I wrote some links that you can take from the chat. At this time, we don't have questions, so we can continue.
Thank you, Ronnie. Okay, so when we connect to Fabric, this is going to be our landing page, right? We see that we have Power BI, Data Factory, Data Activator, right? What I mentioned before, Data Engineer, Data Science, Data Warehouse, and Real-Time Analytics, right? From the portal itself, we can go to the documentation and explore community activities, right? Like videos from others MVP and different communities based on Fabric. What is interesting here is that this icon that we have down here, right? So the fourth one is Fabric, but if we click in here, we have the different options to start working with. Let's say that we would like to start or work on an existing data warehouse related project, right? We will choose warehouse here. If we want to do real-time analytics, we will choose that one. If we need to do ingestion, we choose Data Factory at the top. And if we want to do Power BI, as we've been doing it, right, we choose the first one. So from here, we're gonna get, let's say, our profile, right? We call it persona, right? So depending on who will be using the same solution is how we're gonna be approaching this, right? Just to start with, I will choose data warehouse, right? So what this is my main landing page for data warehouse. We have here, the option to create a new data warehouse. use an sample warehouse, and start the ingestion of the data with the component that I mentioned before. Data pipeline, right, which is quite similar to the Azure data factory pipeline, right, with some differences, small differences, and hopefully enhanced in the future, right? But this is like the Azure data factory pipeline. And then we have data flow Gen 2, right? For Power BI users, well, data flow is the way they use to get the data into Power BI, so we can also use the Power Query options to do transformation from the data that we are getting, right? So we can use either pipeline or data flow Gen 2 to ingest the data, right? So then we have this concept of workspaces, right? Workspaces in where we can, put our own solution, and within the workspace we can go work with our component, right? So what I did already, just to save some time, is I create a workspace here, cloud data driven. I will show you how easy it is to create a workspace. So we just go here, new workspace. We specify the name, cloud data driven, right? We'll check if it is available or not. Then if we want to upload an image or something, and then the type of license that we will be using it, right? So in this case, I'm using the premium capacity, and down here I have, the settings, and if I have more than one, I can choose which one. I won't created it right now. I will use the one that I had from before. So cloud data driven is the name of my workspace. I already create a data warehouse called DW Cloud Data Driven CDD, right? So when I get there, right, I will have my data warehouse empty, completely empty, but ready to be used. Use means start adding data, ingesting data into it, right? So uh, what is interesting here in either data warehouse or lakehouse is that Fabric will provide us with a SQL endpoint. What SQL endpoint means? We can use, the browser here to start interacting with the data that we have, or we can use this SQL connection string or endpoint, right? So we just come here and we hit copy. We grab it in Management Studio, right? Connect. We use, Azure Active Directory authentication, and then we are connected, and we see the data warehouse that we just created, right? Here, as any other data warehouse that we may see. In this case, there's still no tables, is empty, right? But I have access from Management Studio. It can be, Azure Data Studio, or you can use, the portal directly, right? So it's an empty data warehouse. So in this data warehouse, we need to start getting data, right? So we see here we have the option get data, and we have the two possibilities, pipeline or data flow Gen 2. Let's start with the pipeline. Let's explore how we can ingest data, in this case, into our data warehouse, but also could be a lakehouse, right? So I will create the cloud data driven pipeline 1, right? And as soon as we create it, what we will see is an interface which is quite similar to what we see nowadays with Data Factory, right? And we're going to come up with a normal process to choose the data source, right? choose the activity that we will do, in this case, copy data, right? And then choose the destination. So we can start, for example, with some of the sample data that we have available, right? We have the public and anonymous public data sources, like, for example, for COVID-19, right? So I will choose here this one. There are several tables available, and we have a preview here. We can also choose the format that we would like to consume, if it's going to be CSV, JSON, Parquet, right? I will choose CSV as is right now. I will choose only one table. Then our destination, right? In this case, the data warehouse that I already have created beforehand, right? And here is where we can do the mapping, right? If we need to do any mapping of the data type from the source, in this case, file, to the destination table, right? We can do it from here. So I will say, load the data to a new table, the name of the table with a schema and table name. Then we hit next, right? And when we are ready, we have the part to do the review, right? Copy sample data set to our data warehouse, right? As soon as we save, in this case, it's going to be executing it, right? So it's queuing the pipeline, is inserting the data, is reading the data from the public location and storing it into our data warehouse, right? So it's running, and then we have the pipeline already created. So eventually we can reuse this pipeline and have it run it in a schedule basis, right? Every day, every week, or whatever we need to do with that, right? So now it's running, is in progress, right? And we'll see what we get when it's finished. It's interesting because we see all the time the progress in this dashboard. It shouldn't take that long, right? So as soon as it finishes, we will go check if we see the data within the data warehouse, right? Um, Consider that in this example, I'm just consuming a CSV file stored in a public location. But we will see in the next part of the presentation that we, of course, can use our own data sources, right? And same as in Data Factory, we will see all the available data sources that we have from there. So the activity completed took 1 minute 20 seconds. So we should see the data available. So if I go back to my data warehouse here, right? Now I see my table. What can I do from here, right? I can, do a query, do a select top 100, right? So here I have the data that I imported uh, from the public data source into my data warehouse. If I go to Management Studio, now I refresh the tables, right? And I see a new table here, and I can do any kind of SQL operation. Not any kind, actually, but most of them, right? So we have the data available in here. So we will go back to Fabric, right? We go again to my cloud data-driven workspace, and then I will do again new data pipeline. And you see that from here we can, create any component of our Fabric solution, right? We can create pipeline as we did before, data flow, event stream to receive the events, we can create the lakehouse, we can, start our Power BI reports, and, the warehouse as I did before. So I will create another pipeline. I will call it Cloud Data Driven Pipeline 2. Right. And in this case, we will do the copy data activity. And instead of going to the sample data, we can go here and see all the possibilities that we have, right? So we have multiple options. We have Azure SQL, of course. So we can go use Azure SQL Database or Azure SQL Managed Instance as a source, right? And then there are many, many other options, like, for example, uh, Azure Blob Storage, Cosmos DB, as Amazon S3, etc., right? So there are many, right? So we can choose any of these, and the idea is to get more, right? So we see that part already. So let's say that I do have data in my local computer that I need to upload into the data warehouse. So I go back to the warehouse, right? And we have the tables that we already created and the query, right? So what I will do now is I will go to the root of my uh, um workspace, and I will create a new lakehouse, right? And I will call it lakehouse cloud data driven, right? So now within my workspace, I have both a data warehouse and a layout that is being created. Now it's doing everything behind the thing, right, to have what we need for the layout. Right? It's quite interesting because if we go to Management Studio again and we refresh the databases, right, now we will see something quite interesting. We see both the data warehouse and the lakehouse here, right? So we can use, refer to data stored in the lakehouse from the data warehouse and the other way around, right? This is super interesting. So going back, yeah, is there any question?
Yeah, there is an issue. Jeremy Nathan mentioned that he made the public trial workspace and Power BI premium per user workspace. It said that I see the old option, but I do not see the data pipeline, event stream, experience, etc. So his question is, does he need to do anything more in the setting to change that setting?
I'm not sure if all the options are available in all the regions. I won't have the answer for your question. I created in multiple regions, and so far I see the same thing. What I can tell you, that is something that actually happened to me and is still happening, right, is that Microsoft is still working behind the thing, right? So it's doing changes on a daily basis, right? Adding new options, improving existing options, etc., etc., etc. So my recommendation will be try to start over, right? Create a brand new workspace and see if you can get access from there, right? But again, for me, it was a unified experience. The only thing is that maybe one time I was seeing more things than the previous because, again, Microsoft is working behind the scene. So here, yeah.
not
Anything else?
something that I understand from you. I'm talking to Jeremy. I understand that you are using the premium per user license. You should have all the options.
Yeah, I mean, I try with premium capacity in my work. I tried the premium option, and I also try with a different account the trial, right? So from all the different offerings, my experience was the same. That's my own experience, right? So can tell you exactly why you won't see the whole thing. Again, recommendation is try to start a new workspace and see if the options change. Mm. Okay, so I have the lakehouse already created. So in the lakehouse, we have these two options, files and tables. In files, we can upload, right, our own files into the lakehouse. So I go here, I will choose my folder CSV. I have this CSV file, which is a public file, right? I will say override if exists, and I hit upload. When I do upload my file, right? This is again a standard CSV file download with one of the sample sites. We will see it available in our lakehouse, right? Unfortunately, I was installing here the One Lake application, and it didn't work on this machine. But if you have the One Lake application, you will see, same as in OneDrive, you will see this file that we just already uploaded here. You will see it stored in One Lake, right? So I cannot show you this part today. So now I have the files. I will hit refresh. Oh, maybe I did something wrong. Let's do it again. Upload files. Oh, here, the current upload. Done. Will take maybe a little bit. It should pop up in a bit. I guess it's taking longer than usual, but we should see the file. Let me start over. We'll go here. I will go to my lakehouse. Go files. Refresh. Okay, I'll do. Okay, here I see my file. When I add my file here, I have this option called load to table, right? So I will load to a new table, because it's going to take by default the same name of the file. So in this case, there are some characters that are not available for the table name, right? So I will be replacing it, right? It's telling you, this is the CSV file. It contains a header. We will use comma as a separator. So then what I do is just, load this and convert the file into a table within my lakehouse. Right? So this is going to take a few minutes. Interesting enough, not from this part because it's only for uploaded file, but from a pipeline or from a data flow Gen2, we can connect to Azure SQL, right? Azure SQL Database, Azure SQL Managed Instance directly, right? With nothing in between. No, but if we want to get connected to a SQL Server on premise, right, it's still not fully available for pipeline, right? And we need to use the forgot the name, the for Synapse, the integration runtime, right, to connect and to do the bridge for your on-premise environment to Fabric. And if you use data flow Gen 2, you will be using on-premise data gateway, right? That is supporting SQL Server on-premise or SQL Server on Azure VM. So we have this, we have the table here already in our lakehouse. We can open a notebook from here and work directly, or again, we can come here to Management Studio, and we can see the table that we just created. So we have the annual financial table that we created 2 minutes ago. And again, you see we have the data warehouse, the lakehouse, all together embedded into the same solution. So here I have my table, and again, I can do any SQL operation from here. I can even, join the data from one table and the other. In this case, I don't have any relationship, so it's not possible. But again, you see how easy it is to get data into Fabric. If we go again to our cloud data-driven workspace and we want to keep uploading data, we have the option of data flow Gen 2, right? Again, the Power BI users will find this option quite, quite at home because it's been used by them in the existing Power BI solution. So again, it's available here. It's available with Power Query, so you can do data transformation on the fly, right? So pipeline is mostly to do bulk insert of your data, while data flow generation 2 is to do the transformation on the fly before parking the data into either the data warehouse or the lakehouse, right? Again, we can get data from Excel. So I will go here and hit get data, right? We'll hit more. And this is quite interesting because, we see a bunch of different data sources that are loading right now. The ones we know, right? But there are bunch of data sources. So we can connect to, for example, to SAP HANA, to Amazon Redshift, to Snowflake directly from here, right? So we use this as a source to get data that is stored over there into, Fabric, Dataverse, analysis services, and the list is quite large. HD Insight, Databricks, everything available here directly from the data flow Gen 2 option, right? So quite interesting if you are used to Power BI data flows, you will feel at home here. If you are more used to Azure Data Factory and do data ingestion, with minimum transformation, let's say, just copy data actions, well, pipeline will be your, best option. So one more thing here is, again, the data analytics platform for the AI era of AI, right? Seems super interesting, but what is that? So because here, we're just doing data warehousing, lakehouse, we could, do something that we've been using before. For Power BI, right? Everybody is aware of this technology called Copilot, right? Copilot for Office, for Microsoft 365, Copilot for Windows recently, Copilot for GitHub. It's a way to interact using natural language, right? In this case, we have also available, not broadly, but available in private preview, what is called Copilot for Power BI. Right? Copilot for Power BI will give us the possibility to get insight from the data, right? As we've been doing nowadays with Power BI, but using natural language, right? We will be able to ask directly to Copilot, hey, Copilot, which was the, how were the sales in the last 3 months in this specific country? And you will get the, chart live over there. Okay, now I want to add an additional country into the comparison, and you will get it right away. Of course, there are multiple things that need to happen behind the scene in order for you to be able to, let's say, interact this way with Copilot. Again, it's a limited preview available nowadays, but I truly believe that this component of Power BI hitting Fabric, right, all the good project that we will be doing in Fabric and the data that we'll be processing and storing definitely will help us to get ton of insight of our data in an even easier way than what we're doing nowadays with Power BI, right? Because it's not going to be, I would say, a static report or data-driven report. We're going to have an additional option, which is natural language, right? That option, I've been seeing a couple of demos, seems super interesting, and really looking forward to have the possibility to test this with our own data, and again, being able to get insight from our project easier than ever, let's say. All right. With that, I just cover most of the points related to Fabric. Let me go back to this slide. Again, the entry point is aka.ms dash try Fabric. You can have a 60-day trial. You will pay 0, right? And you will be able to do exactly the same that I just did. Now you can create your multiple workspaces. You can create a warehouse, a lakehouse. You can even try event streaming, and and do this kind of analysis for ingestion, processing, and also consuming with Power BI for free. With that, I just finished this brief, introduction to Fabric. Not sure if there are questions. I will open the chat now.
Can you use this time while we are waiting for questions? The links in the chat, because it's a bit difficult to copy them during the session. And I want to thank you a lot. It's a great session, great introduction to start with. So what Javier gave us, it's just the beginning. You can go from here to whatever you need. There was a question regarding the recording. We are recording this session. We will publish the information on social media, and basically the recording will be in our YouTube channel. So again, Javier, thank you for a great session, and thanks all for joining us today. I want to remind you to fill the feedback for the Future Data-Driven Summit. For any session that you participated, it will be a great help for us. And on the way, you can gain some cool giveaway swags. And just join me next week on Wednesday if you want to dive into the internals of SQL Server. It's not only for saying that you know the internals, but understanding the internals open the doors and give us the power to actually use SQL Server and get the best performance. I see that we have a link that Javier added. So there were several more links in that slide. If you can add them all to the chat, I think that it can be useful. Javier, there was 4 links in the slide, one slide before.
Yeah.
You can LinkedIn to follow you as well. Will be helpful to the
I'm putting all the links right now. The most important one and the root one is Try Fabric, and from there you can reach them all. But I'll put all of them together in the chat so you can get access directly from there. Right. So this one, and there is one more for the implementation guide. So here. Yeah, this is it.
Okay, thanks a lot. So if you don't have more questions, we can end the session, and you can check the recording to refresh the information that we have just got in the session. Thanks a lot, Javier. Thanks a lot for coming here today, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.